Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
I want to thank everybody for joining me for the last episode of 2013 for the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 125. My name is Chris Hollifield. Welcome to my show. Thank you so much for checking it out. However you found the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, streaming, however you're listening to this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I got a great episode for you guys today. Matthew Quen Nanes returns to the podcast. I have a great conversation with him, talking what he's been up to since the last time he was on the podcast. Episode 40, he was on for the very first time. That was back in February. We do some catching up. I was really excited when I found out he was going to be opening up for Matt Pryor from the Get Up Kids. Matt Pryor is doing a solo tour. He's going to be playing at Kilby Court January the 16th. Matthew Quen Nanes is opening up for him for that show. I'm going to put all the links for that on the show notes for this episode, episode 125. You can find that at iamsaltlake.com. That's the website for the podcast. You can, of course, go through the back catalog and dig deep into the archives and find out all the conversations I've had. I've had a lot of really great conversations this year, 2013. I got some great interviews lined up for 2014, so you're going to want to make sure to subscribe in iTunes or on Stitcher Radio. You can also find us on the Mediocre Radio Network. Again, all of those links are at iamsaltlake.com. Many thanks goes out to our sponsor, the Urban Lounge. They're located right at 241 South, 500 East in downtown Salt Lake City. Their website, the Urban Lounge SLC, that will connect you with them, and you will be able to find out about all the upcoming shows there and buy your tickets right online. Follow them on Twitter and Facebook. If you don't have any New Year's Eve plans, make sure to head on over to the Urban Lounge. Of course, that's Tuesday, New Year's Eve. DJ Matty Mo, Max Payne and the Groovies, DJ Flash and Flare. It's going to be a great New Year's Eve party. Hopefully we'll see y'all there. It should be a good time indeed. You can always call up the voicemail line, 385-202-5926. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know what you think of the podcast. If you want to be a guest on the show, I'd love to bring you on and have you share your story with the rest of Salt Lake City. Hey, before I do jump into the conversation with Matthew Nanes, I want to let you guys know I am going to be interviewed. Richie T. Stedman from Radio from Hell and the Culture Hall podcast is going to be interviewing me for an upcoming episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This will give you guys an opportunity to find out a little bit more about me, find out a little bit more about my backstory, and like I said, just find out a little bit more about me. I know I don't share quite as much about myself on the podcast. That's one thing I hope to change in 2014, bring a little bit more of myself to the show. But anyways, Richie T. Stedman is going to be interviewing me January 7th. So if you guys have any questions that you want him to ask, email that to me at iamsaltlake@gmail.com or get in touch with me somehow. Go to the Facebook page. Better yet, you know what? Let me have Richie T. kind of tell you a little bit about what's going on with that interview.
Hey, it's me, Richie T. from Radio from Hell and the Cultural Hall, and I'm going to be sitting down in a future episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast with its very own creator, Chris Hollifield. So I need your questions. Send them to that's I-A-M, saltlake@gmail.com. Just like the name of the podcast. Don't be stupid. It's iamsaltlake@gmail.com. If there's anything you want to know about Chris, I'll ask the questions. No holds barred. Nothing off the table. He said he'll answer any question that we get. It's iamsaltlake@gmail.com. Send me your questions and look forward to that upcoming episode.
No holds barred. I will share anything and everything that you wanted to know about me. If you have any questions, this is your opportunity. Get in touch. Make sure those questions are submitted before January 6th. Like I said, he's going to be interviewing me on January 7th, so make sure to watch out for that episode. Anyways, 2014 is right around the corner. Hopefully you guys are ready for a new year. I know I'm ready for a new year. 2013 was a heck of a year. It was a crazy roller coaster. I'm ready to put this year behind me. Thank you so much for everybody that's been listening to the podcast, the iTunes reviews, the emails, the support. Much appreciated. Why don't you guys join me now as Matthew Quen Nanes came over to my apartment here in downtown Salt Lake City and we did some catching up. Matthew Nanes.
Yes.
Back on the podcast. I was looking episode 40, and this is, I'm not sure the exact number this will be, but it's 120 something. And so you were on almost a year ago. So we're going to do some catching up, and, it'll be a much more, relaxed conversation than before, hopefully. Just cause, go back and listen to episode 40 if you haven't had a chance to listen, to Matthew on there. We talked about day 2 and Gaza and kind of how you split off and started doing solo stuff. Now, are you in any bands now, or is it completely solo that you're doing?
I split my time doing solo stuff, and I, play bass with a bunch of people at my church. We have a collective called The Rock Music, and I've been recording. So pretty much the whole latter part of this year, I've been recording on a few projects as that. But as far as, playing out, in bars and venues, I've been doing my own thing, thinking about doing a little bit more as far as the sound goes. Cause playing, I think I said this the last time, but playing solo is nice cause you don't necessarily have to, practice all that much. You don't have to run a schedule with other people and all that. But there's something to be said about just being loud. So I've been kind of playing with the idea of, branching out, because I don't know if I talked about it in the last one, but, I had something called Swans and Never, and that was like supposed to be like, the band, but it just ended up being the solo thing. Like it was kind of hard to keep a cast, of characters, a whole band together. But I don't know. I miss being loud.
Yeah, you miss, and I mean, even if we talk about similar stuff that we talked about in episode 40, that's fine. But, hopefully I have some fun questions that we're going to ask you here shortly. Oh, cool. But does it get lonely, cause, I've been doing this podcast solo, and sometimes, it gets lonely to kind of do it by yourself, and I was wondering if playing music, does it get lonely playing solo versus with getting together with a bunch of friends and jamming and practice even, Does it get lonely for you?
It depends. Like I like playing at the church because, I'm playing music with people I've known for like over 10 years.
Yeah.
But then, so that kind of fulfills that as far as the community aspect of things. And then it really depends on the show when I play by myself. Cause if I play a show with a bunch of bands full of friends, then it's a little bit more of like, hey, we're just hanging out and it's my turn to go up on stage and play for you guys. Sweet. But then there's been moments where I've played up in Ogden or Logan where I don't really know anybody at all. And I've, make a big long drive by myself, listen to a couple podcasts or whatever. But when I get there, sometimes it's hard to turn on that switch to be sociable and try to go out of my way and meet people by myself, no less.
When you're playing, when I'm just in general?
It's just in general, and especially when you play. If it's a good show and people are being receptive, then you can kind of talk back and forth, and it's more of a communal thing as far as that goes. But when the show's not going so well, it's like, wow, I have to be here for another 2 hours, in Logan or Ogden or whatever. And so, that does get lonely because when I'd be on tour with different bands, like, sure, there'd be a crap show and you have each other. It's like, well, at least I can talk to my buddy here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely does get a little bit lonely.
Now the Rock Church, without getting too, religious, I guess you would say, talk a little bit about the Rock Church. I mean, it's a Christian based, church, I guess. What is it over on 2100 South? I mean,
we have a few locations. We got one off the track station on 2100 South. There's one in, Sandy, and there's also one in Provo.
Now, what got you involved in the Rock Church?
Bunch of friends, cause, it kind of centers around the whole day 2 thing. Cause I went to school with Nick and Tony D'Amico. I didn't go to school with Tony D'Amico. He's a little bit older than I am, but I'd go around and go to parties after shows of theirs and get to know those guys. And that was kind of before we all kind of found like Christianity, I guess you can say. And so, Tony, he had left the band, and then I replaced him, but then he started going, and then they were inviting basically my family because we all known each other's families and stuff. And so around I was still in day 2 when I started going. And,
so approximately,
yeah,
how many years have you been going to the Rock Church?
Let's see here. So it's probably 9 years. I hit 9 years this year. So I've been going there for a while and playing music there for about, I would say about 6 years.
And when you play music, I mean, do you really get up there and just rock? I mean,
definitely not. I think
when I think of church, I grew up, the typical Utah Mormon, and we sing hymns and we, it's very, organ and piano. And I've seen some of these other churches, man, they get up there and they have a good time.
Yeah, I have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely, I don't like for people who've seen me play in Gaza, or day 2, I don't go crazy like I did then. And that has more to do with the music and honestly getting older, and fatter. I definitely don't move around as much as I do.
Getting older is rough, man.
It is rough.
I just had my 36th birthday and it's like, gosh, I'm going to be 40 before I realize it. What am I doing?
Yeah. And you wake up, like, even if you don't move around much, all of a sudden, like, wow, I'm really sore, the next morning. But, I don't know, like, I definitely, quote unquote, rock out and stuff. And I think there's like a line of being too distracting, especially in a setting like that. Like, you don't want to distract other people, because it's playing rock and roll and then doing like rock and roll at a church. It's definitely different in how, not so much the correct way to go about it, because it's definitely not like, a rule. Like, there's no rules as far as, you can't do this as far as getting into the music, because like definitely get into the music. But when you're trying to make that connection with other people, you have a different
message you're bringing across.
A different message, a different function of the music, because like you're really trying to connect people with, with God, like with your music. And so, but if you're up there, acting crazy, you can definitely deter in helping other people do that as well. So there's definitely a different kind of format, I guess, of that kind of music, and it's kind of fun tiptoeing and trying to figure that out compared to playing in a band and in doing that. And I enjoy doing both and kind of.
And do you play every Sunday? Are you playing? Like, if I was to, is your church on Sundays? Or, I mean, no. I know some churches are on different days, actually.
It's on Saturday nights. And so it's not every Saturday night, but we're kind of going to a quote unquote campus based thing. So I think I'll be playing there a little bit more, but I would go around, because for instance, the Provo location's Friday night, and there's some that are Sunday morning. So it's definitely whatever the need is, whatever I'm scheduled to go to different places. But this upcoming year, I'll be there most Saturday nights playing.
I might have to come down there and check you out, man.
Yeah. It's fun.
I like checking new things out. You never know what you might like out there. So 2013. I mean, we're coming to an end here. This episode will be up right before the new year, New Year's Eve. What are you looking forward to in 2014?
Yeah.
What are you actually? Let's back up. What are you excited about 2013 being over? I mean, was it a good year or a bad year for you?
It was kind of a bad year. It was good and bad. It was really refining. I'm going to put on my jacket real quick.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, this apartment gets chilly. I apologize. Like I said. Anyways, 2013. Was it a good year or bad year, or what are you excited to have it? Are you excited that 2013 is almost over?
Yeah. I'm definitely excited.
It's been an interesting year, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a weird year. And so, basically this year's just been trying to recover, because, 2012, I had my car stolen, and I was in between.
You had your car stolen?
My car was stolen while I was working in the broad daylight in a busy, parking lot.
I mean, you just come out there, it's gone.
Yeah, I was done with work.
Did you see the people actually take it?
No, I didn't. I don't think anybody did. And it was in broad daylight too. And what happened, I was at that time I was doing 2 bands maybe. And so I practiced the night before. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be hard to bring in my stuff. And I had another practice to go to right after work. I'm like, okay, overnight, 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours of work, no big deal. Should be fine. And all my stuff had gotten stolen, all my bass gear.
So it was in the car.
It was in the car, yeah, which was foolish. I mean, I should know better, like in the first place.
Well,
but
shame on you, man.
Yeah, shame on me. Shame on me. And and so basically, just trying to recover from that. Like, thankfully, there's, you know, at the church, there's equipment for me to use. Like, I bought another bass, and so I at least I recovered as much as I could. And I just haven't really got there to get back to that, to having everything I need to do everything, you know, I want.
Did they ever find the car?
We found the car. It was funny. Day 2 had a reunion show that summer, and it was, so that's why I was going between practices because I was practicing for the reunion show. And so what happened, so I had people lend me some gear because I wasn't able to buy anything at that point. And I was literally sound check for that show, and I get a call from Murray Police saying they found the car. And so
was it stripped down, or?
It was stripped. Like the sunroof was open. Everything that could have been worth anything was gone. They stripped the steering wheel, and it was just a mess. So they're like, well, if you get here right now, you don't have to tow it. And so
where was it at? Like where? Like
it was like 2 or 3 blocks away from where it was stolen. So I think it was like a joyride, and there was a baby seat in there too. So we took their little kid out for a ride in my car too, which is really sad, I think. And so, it was.
Well, you hope it was their kid.
I hope I hope it was their kid. God forbid if it wasn't.
So they never found the people then?
So never found the people, never found my stuff, and I had to junk out the car. But it was just really funny, like having to leave the venue to get the car or like to claim it, go back, play the show. And so it was a really kind of a hectic week. And so I don't know, like this year I was like trying to get ahead and trying to get some things back in order. And then I almost broke my finger. I injured my finger really badly, so I was afraid that I couldn't play music for a long, long time. And so it was kind of like an emotional year.
For you,
yeah. Thinking that I was gonna have to like stop playing music which I did. I actually like took a like 4 or 5 month break from playing shows just because just trying to work a lot to, you know, get the money back, that value that was gotten stolen from me. And so it was pretty crazy.
Did you find that to be helpful to take a break from music and say, okay, I'm taking a break? And then when you came back, you were kind of refreshed and ready to create again, I guess.
Yeah, like I'm really happy I did that just because I had like one of those crying game moments, you know, like, oh, what do I do? You know, like in the shower, you know, like it was really a rough time just because just juggling so much and trying so much. And that was a problem. I just tried too hard to just get back to where my life was. And I just don't think that was the point. That was the kind of thing that I learned too. It's just like, well, maybe my life before that wasn't how it should have been going. And so I learned a lot from that time. And it was funny because I busted my finger during that time. And so that,
how did you bust your finger? Maybe you mentioned it.
I called it an old man injury to my doctor, and she was really offended. I was at a baseball game, and I got up at the the outfield,
like a Bees game?
Yeah, a Bees game. Yeah. I was out in the outfield on the lawn, and I got up and I used my hands like to push myself up, and all of a sudden I hear a loud pop. And it didn't really hurt. And I just thought, just like a kind of a crack of a finger, but all of a sudden my finger was all disjointed, and it was kind of funny until I had to go to the doctor, and there's all these possibilities like, oh, we might have to do surgery.
Which finger was it?
It was my ring finger on my left hand. So as far as fretting on a guitar, it was impossible. Like I was still able to play bass, like as far as that goes, but it was still really difficult. And so I couldn't play guitar for a few months. So
did you make up cool stories at least? Maybe did you make anything up of how you broke it?
I'm a terrible liar. Man. So no, I know everyone's like, oh, I did this. I did. I'm like, no, I even if I wanted to, I suck at lying.
This guy, man, it was.
I defended my wife's honor. Like no, I suck at that. I need to write. If I wrote about it, I can make a good fib. But if someone's asking me on the spot face to face, I suck at lying. So I'd rather just not.
So when was the Day 2 reunion show? When was that? Was that over the summer?
No, it wasn't. It was 2 summers.
Oh, okay. So that was before your last time you were on the show.
Right.
Then.
Which kind of tells you how difficult it was to try to, to get, my life back together. It just took a long time, to get there. And I'm still, struggling through it too. But, that's the thing, is like trying to create music and play shows. Like you have expenditures like strings, and if your amp goes out, or you need to repair your guitar, and sometimes it's just really difficult to do it without, taking out the credit card and getting in debt for it, which is something because you hear that from musicians all the time, like, oh,
I'm in debt.
I'm in debt. Like I'm $30,000 in debt because I bought a touring van. And sometimes that's something that you need to do. But, I've just become like convinced, like in my personal life and my musical life, seeing other friends and bands going through stuff, like that's something I'm just kind of willing not to do anymore, is to take those chances. And, so I'm just trying to do things as straightforward as possible. And I think that's what I really learned through my time out. It's like, I got to make my punches count, do the best I can to promote a show, like as far as I can. And, and just make good music too. I'm just really, convicted that I just need to make just better art as well. So.
Cause you paint as well, or no?
No, I write.
You write, like, a book? Weren't you writing a book or something the last time you were on the show?
I was writing for a collection. It was like a short story collection. And I wrote 2 stories. One of them got published, but then the book got shelved the second go around. But I've been writing for City Weekly lately as well. So I'm doing that, all different sorts of writing.
Oh, I didn't know so you're writing for City Weekly now.
A little bit, yeah, freelance.
Like what kind of stuff you've been writing for City Weekly?
I've only done 1 article so far, but I did the Frank Turner feature.
Did you go check him out at Urban?
I was really, really, really sick, and I really tried to.
That was,
and I was throwing up the night before. It was like uncontrollable throwing up, and I had the free show from his publicity people, and I tried to take the whole day to recover. That's a pun for Frank Turner fans. Recovery, recover. And so I went by myself, and I looked like hell.
Oh, so you did go to the show?
I did.
Were there.
Like I pretty much crawled to the show, and I went, and he was good, but I was just like my mind was just in a whole other dimension.
See, I thought that show was fantastic.
Yeah, man. He was really great. He's a great frontman. But as far as writing about it went, like writing about the show review, I was just like, it's not happening. It's not. It took a lot out of me that night. So I honestly shouldn't have gone as far as my physical state went. But yeah, it was great. And,
so how long? So City Weekly, did you pick, were you doing that the last time that you were on the podcast?
No,
or how did you pick that?
I picked that up because I have a couple friends who work there and are affiliated with them, and they were looking for music writers. So they just kind of kicked me a message like, hey, you'd be interested in this. And I sent in a few of my samples and met up with the music editor. And yeah, it seemed like a good kind of a partnership, and just kind of to write as little or as much as I can. But I want to keep fresh, maybe like write a couple of months. I have a couple subjects I want to write about with shows coming up, but I'm just kind of keep that on the DL for now.
No, that's so people can check out City Weekly, and you're in there from time to time.
From time to time, yeah.
Not every issue.
No, I definitely I kind of wanted to. I wanted to do it at that
level.
At that level, but life happens, and that's fine. I'm definitely not trying to make it something that would you be stressed out about.
Would you like to see something? I mean, would you like to do something like that full time?
I've tried.
You've tried.
Well, like I've put feelers out there, like put my resume together, but I wasn't very tried and true at that point. So I'm definitely using this moment to just to get out there a little bit more.
Use it as practice.
Practice, and I enjoy it. And
what do you like about writing the most? I mean, just I like to dabble in writing. I mean, I'm horrible at it, but there's just something about words on a paper that, there's just, if you do it right, I mean, it's a beautiful art.
Yeah.
It really is.
I don't know. There's just so much you can do with words, just like, cause sometimes people can be like, well, what's in a word? Kind of dismissing things like, well, there's a lot, there's lots of names. There's a lot of things you can delve into as far as people's names or just a single word can do so much. Like it can piss people off or it can make someone laugh. And I think there's just so much that you can do with writing. I mean, writing songs is one thing because you have like 3 or 4 minutes to get out what you want to say. But, as I get older and more things I get angry about, like it's a lot easier just to get out on paper. Of course, there's something to be said about writing well, as far as grammar and all that goes.
Are you a grammar Nazi?
Yeah, I'm an English major. So
yeah, like people, and it's like, come on, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not about to correct someone's Facebook post or anything like that, or put a meme out about like what correct ways of your, I mean, I get it, but I mean, I'm not going to do that, but.
Or when somebody sends you a text message and you're just like, come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a line for sure.
Yeah.
I can understand human error, but when there's just, I'll see you, L8ER, it's just like.
Does that stuff bug you?
If someone sends it to me, like it irks me a little bit, but.
Like spell out the whole word.
Yeah.
Or even the use of like LOL or something like, come on,
Yeah.
You're not really laughing out loud right now.
Yeah. And then sometimes I'll look at myself and I'll write haha back to a friend or my wife. And I'm just like, did I really just haha? Like, what do you do? And it's just so weird.
Texting is it's an interesting, it's kind of destroying
a little bit,
the English language a little bit.
Yeah. Totally,
but,
definitely.
Anyways, before we get too far, let's actually play one of your solo tracks.
Yeah.
I'll let you pick it, kind of like we did last time, and we'll play that, and we'll come back and chat with you some more. What song should we play?
So we'll be playing the first track from my last EP called Nostalgia. The song's called LTD.
To get out of private hell. Yeah, I wish to get a hair as well. This place means nothing to us. This place is out of touch with us. This is where you really want to be. Tell them I want it only. We can stay in this car forever. Cross state lines, left the family behind. You gotta feed and just drive. I got my LTD going down I-15. Yeah, your hair's blown in the wind. Is this the time and place you wanna be in? This is the time and place you wanna be in. This is where you really want to be. Tell them I want it only. We can stay in this car forever. Cross state lines, left the family behind. Kick out a feet and just drive. left the family behind. You gotta feed and just drive.
So do you have any New Year's Eve plans? Are you do you get out and do anything on New Year's Eve, or are you kind of a stay-at-home kind of guy?
I'm a stay-at-home kind of guy. I don't know. We've tried. I mean, I've got two kids as well, so it's kind of hard to juggle all that. Like, we've done things like for the kids and all that, and we've also tried doing the party thing, like get together with some friends, with the kids and try to stay up late. And it's just kind of interesting to navigate that. I mean, normally I'm even when I was single, like I would.
Do you at least stay up until midnight though? I mean, or are you in bed by 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve?
There was one year I didn't make it till midnight. It was really sad. But, I mean, I have a hard time staying up till midnight these days anyway. But even like I said, like even when I was single, I had such a hard time even wanting to go out most nights. I don't know when or why that happened. I just really turned into a homebody for some reason, like me going to a bar show these days, it's like the staying up late. It's a sacrifice for sure. And if it's a band that I really care about, I'll go, I'll make it a point. But like we'll try to do something. We just don't know. We're just kind of rolling with off the cuff,
So one thing I wanted to, before we get too far in, I was kind of excited to see you, what is it, the 14th of January at Kilby Court. You're playing with Matthew Pryor from the Get Up Kids.
I think it's the 16th.
Or is it the 16th?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it's the 16th.
Oh, correct me. Good.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's good. Good save there. Kilby Court.
Yeah.
It's you and he's just doing some solo stuff. I mean, how did you get teamed up with that, man? That's like, is that kind of a dream come true for you?
It is a dream come true a little bit. So basically I just bug Will and Lance from Kilby Court / Urban Lounge. Whenever I see someone coming, I'm like, hey, I'd like to play with them. And I don't know, I just kind of put myself out there quite a bit, especially when I saw Matt Pryor. I definitely, curved my enthusiasm, like, cause there's always a chance a booking agent says no locals or whatever. So I don't really I don't get my hopes up too much at least anymore, I learned at an early age.
Booking agents will actually say they don't want local bands to open up for wow.
Yeah,
really?
I mean, it depends if there's like a package, if they're going to add on other touring people onto the show later. And I don't take any of that thing personal. It's all, the business aspect of it. But when so what would happen is I noticed that he was booked in November. And it was like really, really early November. And I was already booked for another show playing for Kevin Devine. And I just shot out an email, something about the show. I'm like, oh, and by the way, I'd like to be on that Matt Pryor show. I didn't hear anything of it for about 6 weeks as far as any information as that goes. And, I'm sitting there at work one day. I get a call from Will, get up and answer it. It's like, oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know you're opening for Matt Pryor. And of course, like at that moment, there was no communication in between that at all. Like, oh yeah, well, you're going to open for him. And so I don't know, Matt Pryor, the Get Up Kids in general, growing up pretty much forged my musical tastes at large, other than like the emo stuff. But then they put out that record on a wire that was more like rootsy, kind of countryish kind of a sound. And that did a lot for my like musical influences as well, as being okay with country sounding things. Like country isn't what you just hear on the radio. I'm not huge into country, but of course, like
kind of that alt country,
right? Yeah, alt country. Like Ryan Adams' Heartbreaker. That sort of thing. Or,
I love that stuff. Yeah, man. That is there's a Whiskey Town.
And there's this other band I just found out about that's been gone for about 10 years. I was on Get Up Kids' old label, Doghouse, Chamberlain.
Oh, fantastic.
Like no one knows about him. And I just remember reading an article about him 6 years ago. And I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll check him out. And it's down my alley now, And so yeah, like,
man, I have to listen. I haven't
brush
listened
that one out.
I haven't listened to that band forever. So glad you brought it up.
Yeah. And so I've been listening to them a lot lately. And so, this show is, I'm just really happy to be there in general. Like, he may think my music's crap, but I don't care. I'm just happy to.
Well, you got me turned on to his podcast when the last time you were on the show. You told me about his podcast he did, or does, and you got me turned on to that. Did you hear about the Reggie and the Full Effect show?
Yeah.
Is that in February?
That's in February. Yeah.
Well, I was just like, you've got to be kidding. This is awesome.
Yeah. It's a renaissance of that era, I think.
Yeah.
And his, James DeWeese, the Reggie, mastermind, his record's great too. It's really funny. So if you're needing to listen to something that'll make you smile a little bit, it's a really good record as far as that.
Any other shows coming up that you're excited about? Or, I mean, I know you say you don't get out to a whole lot, but I mean, there's a few good shows. I mean, I'm excited. Yeah. The Pixies and there's a few in 2014 so far that I'm kind of excited for.
I don't know. Like well, I'm really excited for Reggie. That's just going to be like a lot of fun. I don't know. I'm kind of like tunnel visioned right now on this show, like promoting for it. And like, I'm looking at different things on like the calendars and stuff like that. I always look and see what's going on at Urban and in Kilby and that. Oh, wait, there is one. I think like February 22nd, this punk band called the Menzingers, they're coming. And, they're kind of new. They're a newer, punk band. They're signed on Epitaph right now. They're just really good too. Like if you enjoy like stuff like Gaslight Anthem and Frank Turner, they're really, really
worth
good.
Checking out.
They're definitely worth checking out.
So besides the show with, Matt Pryor, do you have any other shows coming up?
No, I'm kind of taking the time to like, when we're like, you asked a question about the new year, what I'm excited about. I don't know why, like me thinking that I'm almost turning 30, I don't turn 30 next year, but it kind of made me think about, what have I done really? Like what kind of risks have I taken? I think anytime you put out music or you put money down to make a record, like it's a risk. But as far as like creatively, like when someone's like their goal in their whole life is to write like a 500-page book, and they do it, that's a big deal. Or even, just stuff like that. So it made me really reflect on what I really want to do. And as far as not even really a statement to the public or anything like that, but just like a statement about like your life, like what.
So what do you want to do?
Oh gosh. I'm seeking counsel about it right now. Like I'm talking to a bunch of smart people on how to go about it.
A bunch of smart people.
Yeah.
I like that.
People who are smarter than me. And so I don't know. It will involve making a full length, at least a full length. Having something to do with, I'm being vague on purpose. Something to do with writing, of course, writing more fictional, wanting to get not so much my story. It's not like a autobiographical or anything like that, but, I definitely want to take a look at growing up in Utah. So I kind of want to make something that's more like an all encompassing thing. Like, the songs will inform the book or the book will inform the songs. And so I'm way big into storytelling. So, that's pretty much as much as I can say right now. Like it's in its forming. I'm forming
its infancy
right
stage.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Infancy stage.
Mm-hmm.
What, are you do you still purchase like a lot of CDs and vinyl or all your music online pretty much?
I try to buy as much as I can. Like
what's the last album you bought?
The last album I bought, let's see here.
Or is it kind of a single song here and there or Spotify?
No, as far as like my purchasing goes, like it's definitely curbed back a bit just because personally, like I was talking about, like
you're a family man
stuff.
Now.
Like, well, yeah, like, oh, trust me, I'd love to spend money on records and CDs like that. As far as like getting out of debt, like as far as stuff like that, like I don't know, I'm just starting to be really, because musicians especially musicians that have families, and like I think the sins of the past as far as trying to survive doing what we're trying to do, it really kills us later on in life, I think. And I think people's creativity can be so hampered by real world problems. And I want to get to the place where I can be more creative just because I have one less thing to worry about, or, $200 or $300 paying back people could really go towards, renting out a space or putting out a record. And especially this day and age where, record labels are dying and no one's too interested in putting out any new music anymore unless it's profitable. Like, you really just kind of have to do it yourself. And I just kind of want to do that responsibly. But while saying that, I do remember the last couple purchases I did. Deaf Heaven, their record called Sunbather is really great. It's kind of like if My Bloody Valentine was mixed with a death metal band. That was really good. And then Owen, I don't know how to say it in French, but it translates to the friend of the people. I don't know. I don't speak French. So those are kind of like one extreme to another of what I'm enjoying these days. Just really, really angry music, or just really, really just like singer-songwriter stuff. Yeah. And so, but as far as like me purchasing music, like I said, taking in music and purchasing it is great for everyone involved, like it informs my creativity. It helps other people do what they need to do. But I just kind of want to take care of my mess before
absolutely
I can help someone else out.
Do you watch a lot of TV? I was just
we do the Netflix
what's
stuff.
What's the last TV show you watched? Just kind of a little bit different.
I've been watching a lot of wrestling.
Do they have wrestling on
There's
Netflix?
Wrestling, yeah.
On Netflix?
Yeah. Well, yes, there is actually. Yeah. Just like a lot of old like documentaries on different wrestlers and stuff.
Like, are we talking old like Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan type stuff?
Yeah, like Bret Hart and stuff like that. I don't know why.
What got you into wrestling? Just
well, okay, here's a really good reason why I'm back into wrestling.
My grandma was big into watching wrestling. You know what I mean? Back, when she's like 70 years old, she would watch I'm just like, come on, grandma, what are you watching wrestling?
Okay, so there's a really great website out there called Grantland, and it's kind of a subsidiary of ESPN, but they let this writer named Bill Simmons kind of have a new ship where he writes about like pop culture, sports, movies, pretty much like anything cool for people around our age, like, mid-20s later on. Just really thoughtful writing in just about anything that you can think of. And all of a sudden there's articles on wrestling there. And so I think the joke, the writer, I forget his name right now, but he's like, it's like, big city liberal wrestling fan writing. And so it's pretty much like writing for the thinking man, about like something is so childish as wrestling,
Yeah.
And so it made me start thinking about the thing that I used to be so into in a different way, as far as like how they put the stories together or why someone threw a match or whatever. And so it got me to thinking about the whole, cause like, they have writers, writing out, storylines and stuff like that. So it kind of got me thinking about that in a different way. Of course it's lame, but it's fun.
Yeah.
So I've been watching a lot of like old documentaries and old matches and stuff. And I've been watching Futurama. I don't know why. It just seemed like it was fun. I'm really, really late getting onto the Breaking Bad.
I was as well, but I killed it. I finished it probably about a month. Well, maybe not. I don't know. A few weeks back. Yeah. And, just ended up having to purchase the final season on iTunes and the whole 9 yards. Fantastic.
I've avoided spoilers.
Yeah. I'm on the internet. I won't give you any spoilers. I mean, it's just a fantastic show. Probably one of the most well-written shows on TV.
Yeah. I'm still in the first season. So far,
well, you're in for some good time.
I am. I hear it gets darker, and that's kind of what put me off at first, because like, I like a little like comedy, but then I see it sprinkled in here and there. So I'm like, okay, I can hang. But I do realize, as years go on, like the responsibility of spoilers is like, it's my fault.
Do you watch the Walking Dead at all? Did you get into that show?
I'm not anti-zombie, but
it's just
like,
not your thing.
It's really not my thing. And like, as far as like, and I think that's why I kind of got on the Breaking Bad thing a little bit, really later, just because it's one of those things. If I'm really weird about hype, if something's been hyped up way, 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 way too much, like I have a hard time believing it's worth anything. Of course, some people would be like, well, if this is this popular, there's got to be a good reason for it. And I do realize there's good reasons for things being popular, but I get a little sketchy. I get sketched out, like, can't be that good.
Yeah. No, I'm
That show
trying
can't be that
I'm trying to get through The Walking Dead right now.
Yeah.
And as we record this, I'm about halfway through season 3. Season 2 was kind of dead, but, anyways, here, I'm going to throw a really curveball question. If you could have any pet in the world, illegal or not, what would you get? What pet would you get?
I definitely have pet plans.
You have pet plans.
I have pet plans.
My first guest on the podcast has pet plans.
I do have pet plans. I want a pug. I like ugly dogs. They're so ugly that they're cute. And so,
so that would be the one pet you would get. You're not an alligator, not a monkey.
I'm not interested. I don't know. Like I've liked pugs for a long, long time. And at first it was like, cause I snore. I'm a snorer. And so it's kind of one of those things where I can empathize finally with a pet, like, oh yeah, I get it.
There's something comforting though about sleeping next to somebody that snores. Cause then at least they're alive.
Exactly. And if I'm not snoring, check on me. Like I may be dead. And I don't know. I already have like names picked out.
So what's stopping you from getting a pug then?
Oh, I don't know. I just had a baby.
You want the time to be right.
I want the time to be right. Yeah, it's got to be right, and I want to be able to at least take care of it without feeling bad that I'm gone all day.
Do you have any pets now or no?
Well, we have a mouse problem at our house, but no, we don't have any pets now. We did have a bird at one point, and just silly little things.
Well, the dog
not so much for me, but
the dog would be good for your kids.
Yeah, but then they'll be like, it's my dog. It's like, well, take care of it then. At that point, like I'm kind of staunch and strict like that. But as far as I'm concerned, like my dog, like I definitely like I would like a pug.
Yeah. What's the most delicious food that you've ever eaten in your entire life?
Well, it's got to be some sort of Mexican food, some sort of burrito.
Any all-time memorable burritos that you've had?
I have a couple. Whenever I'd go to Denver for shows or hanging out with friends, a trip to a place called Illegal Pete's was always in
Denver.
In Denver, yeah. So the way I like to say what it's kind of like a punk rock Chipotle, and of course their liquor laws are a little bit relaxed. So there's a full bar, and there's brick all over the place, kind of like the pie is, and not so much graffiti, but it definitely has like a harder look to it. And they're blasting music like the Lawrence Arms or something like that. But you could tell it was like a real respected establishment because you have like downtown business people there, and their burritos are just super solid. And also there's a place in Phoenix called Chino Banditos, and basically you can have a combination plate of Chinese and Mexican food together. So it's kind of like a hybrid type of place, and it was really unique. I'm not going to say it was really fantastic. It was good, but it was really interesting to have that. But I'm definitely more of the Mexican food, Tex-Mex type of deal.
Awesome. What's the longest plane ride that you've ever been on?
Longest plane ride? Well, I for a summer. I have a few that could be tied going overseas, but the worst one I will say is my flight from Denver to London.
Whoa.
It was a nonstop from Denver to London.
How long was that flight for?
Oh gosh. I have a hard time remembering just because like that flight was so pain filled as far as comfort goes. It was a really big plane, so you kind of have like 2 seats on one side or 3 seats on one side, and then you have like 7 in the middle and then 3 on the other wing. And I was right in the middle, smack dab and surrounded by businessmen. And the worst thing is trying to get up and going to the bathroom, when people are sleeping. And I try to be considerate and not wake people up, but that was the worst.
So what took you to London? Why did you go to London?
It was on a it was on a connecting flight to Amsterdam. And so I did probably like a month and a half of service work in Amsterdam. I actually worked at a hostel. Yeah, that's what people
in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah. And so, what I did, I actually worked at a hostel for a while. I actually was a cook at a hostel for like a month and a half. This is like a year before I got married too. And it was a great experience. And actually, like, you know, we were like, oh, you know, service work. I was actually worked literally an alleyway, because the entrance of where I worked was in an alleyway, which sounds sketchy to us, but it wasn't too bad. I could literally probably take 7 steps and be in the red light district.
Nice.
So we had a lot of crazy. Well, no, I didn't. Of course, I didn't like doing any of that. Actually, part of my job was kind of like educate people, like the reality of, you know, that kind of life.
Yeah.
Now, of course, like there's, you know, whatever your stance on like drugs and sex and stuff, but a lot of the information I would tell people about is actually like human trafficking, because there's probably, I think the statistic was like 85 or 90% of the prostitutes in Amsterdam were trafficked. And so kind of, I mean, it wasn't our job to not really tell people not to do it. You know, people pay, do whatever they want, you know, that's their money. But like whatever, like time that you can kind of educate people, like the realities of, you know, heavier situations that could help, you know, potentially like save people's lives, you know, and their livelihood. But that being said, like Amsterdam is a great city.
And how long were you there for?
I was only there for about a month and a half, which was way too. It wasn't enough.
Yeah,
like you would think that you had a lot of time to explore, but like really, like there's like I would have to live there to really do everything like I really wanted to do, and especially if you're working in a city like that, like it wasn't really all fun and games either. There was fun, but you know, as far as, you know,
any crazy stories, like did you see anything just really crazy go down?
I didn't necessarily see anything really crazy happen. I mean, other than like the red light district stuff, like, and it's really sad to say, like, especially if you hang out in a place called Vegas, you kind of just get shocked the first time. And then I don't want to say I got numb to anything like that, but you know, it was on my mind, like the reality of what was going on in that city. But I was more shocked about what, you know, when people were staying at the hostel, like what people did, you know, the night before. It was like, wow, like, whoa.
Do you find though, okay, so in Amsterdam, I mean, you know, drugs and sex and all of that are legal there compared to the United States. Do you think that has ruined the society there, or is it people are kind of used to it and they just kind of let people be adults and make their own decisions? Or, I mean, or is that kind of a tough question to answer, I guess?
As far as the locals are concerned, like I think they realize a lot of things, like a lot of the good things that happen there are because of that, as far as like tourism and all that's concerned. And they just kind of, because it's only like really situated only in that one part of the city. And so like if you don't want to go there, it's really easy to avoid it. But as far as like the actual culture of Holland, you know, like, you know, I think as far as the language stuff is concerned, you know, they of course, like people are learning English, and that's great because people are flying over from the UK or US to do whatever they want to do in Amsterdam. But, it makes it kind of hard though, because the more that I still learn about certain laws that are happening in, you know, relating to Amsterdam, and I think the government of Holland, they realize a lot of money's coming in. And so, for instance, I have a friend who's from Nebraska, but she's living in Amsterdam right now doing work when it comes to like trafficking and all that. Well, they just legislated a new law. Like if you're not making a certain amount of money, if you're not contributing to money there, they want you out. Like regardless if you have a visa or whatever. And so, I think they know what they have there. They know the positives, but I think they're also trying to cut off like American influence.
I've heard that, you know, like, you know, people go there, oh, I can, you know, smoke some weed or something. And it's like, well, no, not really. You know, I've heard they kind of have gotten a little stricter over there.
Yeah. I mean, they enjoy the money we bring over there, but, but as far as a more long-term type of thing, I think they're trying to protect their interests a little bit more, which is kind of interesting. Like if you think about America and our immigration laws too, you know, like it's really weird and interesting to think about.
Yeah. What's one of your favorite habits that you have?
Habits. I don't know. Like when I was younger, I used to not have many habits at all. But as I got older, I kind of been more of like anal retentive. And so I don't know if I really have a favorite, because when I kind of get knocked off of my habit, I get really paranoid and anxious. And so it's kind of turned into one of those things. Like, so I don't think I really have a favorite, because I feel comfortable whenever I do, like, everyone has their thing when they get into work, like they get their coffee, or, some people make breakfast at work, or whatever, or like, yeah, that's nice. But then when you forget your breakfast, or if you forget something, like you freak out, and I hate being in that position. So I think any habit I have is merely like a crutch, and it sucks having like crutches, like being knocked out from underneath you.
Yeah.
I will say though, I really enjoy making like a pot of French press coffee, like when I wake up or get into work or whatever. So, I mean, luckily I work at a place that I can do that. But, I love coffee though. So that's a nice one, I should say. If I had a favorite, that'd be the one.
Speaking of work, if you could try out any job for just one day, what job would you try out?
The general manager of the Utah Jazz.
Do you think you can help the Jazz? I mean, come on, they need some help.
Like, they have a lot more smarter people working there, and like as far as like when people delving into like Moneyball, like that type of thing, where if whoever's listening doesn't know about that, it's basically using advanced metrics and statistics to measure like what's actually helping you and all that. But I love sports as well, and so like pretty much anything doing with like the sports industry would be really cool, as far as like, I wouldn't mind like marketing or whatever, but just being around that world. Or maybe like, I would like to be like a booking agent that already has like a roster that makes money. Like it'd be nice to actually. Well,
I'm only letting you pick one job here, man.
Okay. If it's a coin flip, I don't know. It's a coin flip, but I think the Jazz would be.
And we actually tweeted this back and forth to each other. I still haven't been to a Jazz game. I got to go with you. I've lived in this state for 20 years.
That's
and
ridiculous.
I haven't been to a Jazz game. I mean, what is up with that? And actually, I like basketball, but what do you like least about yourself?
What I like least about myself? Well, like I was saying about the anal retentiveness.
Okay.
Like I like to think that I'm very like self-aware of like flaws and all that. And sometimes if I get knocked off like my comfort or whatever, I'm not saying I'm really bugged about this, because like I'm bugged that I get bugged, of being uncomfortable. Like if I get knocked off my, like what I want to do, sometimes like, I just realize I need to be more easily interruptible, by people, and especially like family and people I love, like, and all that. So it's definitely a struggle to be a little bit more like loose as far as like plans or things like that go. So if I could be a little bit more chill, that'd be great as far as that stuff goes.
What would you like written on your tombstone?
Oh gosh, I don't even think I want to be buried. I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about lately.
What, like cremated?
I think I want to be cremated. I don't know.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Why is that? Why?
Well, there's definitely like theological reasons. Cause like if say all of this is for naught as far as like Christianity goes or whatever, then it doesn't matter, right? Like as far as like what happens to my body after I die. And basically it's like the thought is like, okay, like I'm all in, my chips are in as far as what I believe in and what I think is true. Well, if it's true, then if, in Genesis, it says like God made man out of dust or whatever. So technically if I'm burned, and so I kind of started out as a joke, like I like to be like self-deprecating or make jokes like relating to what I believe. Like, I mean, I take what I believe seriously, but I think people need to be a little bit more, just have a sense of humor. Just
have fun with life.
Just have fun, I mean, when I'm too serious, I'm miserable. And I see like stuff people post on Facebook and Twitter. And sometimes people are just so too serious. And so I made a joke about being cremated, like, well, if you formed man out of dust, you can form me back in the dust, you know, like, cause like the whole idea of like resurrection and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like testing, you know, like testing, like, well, if this isn't true, then what does it matter? You know, my body's gone.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's great, like, you know, as far as like gravestones and all that and being buried, that's fine. Like it's not a moral issue to me. It's a moral issue to a lot of people, like as far as like beliefs and stuff like that go. Cause I think it's important to remember, you know, but at the same time, like 3 or 4 generations down, you know, my great grandkid is not going to know a thing about me. And I'll just be like this headstone if, you know, like, oh, well, there's great grandpa, you know. Yeah. Oh, okay. And so
you'd rather leave something behind, written works or something like your music.
Like I mean, even then, like I'm well aware that I could have copies of a record, you know, the last living copies of my record to be thrown out, you know, like 50 or 60 years after I die. And so like I realize that, you know, some things like fade away and get forgotten about. Like even great musicians of the past, like when's the time that like Jimi Hendrix or Jim Morrison is just a blip in history and not really celebrated anymore, you know? Like I hope that doesn't happen because they're very important people, I think, as far as music goes. But like I believe it's really possible that, especially in our day and age where information just goes so quickly, that we can forget some.
Why do you think Twitter's so popular, man? We just scroll through it and you just quickly read those ones.
I hate that. Can I say that I hate that too? Like I love Twitter. Is like, I mean, we talk all the time on Twitter, but so much information just goes like in and out of our brains. And something that I'm well aware of too is just like, wow, can I just stop and enjoy things like once in a while?
It's all about those 140 characters, man.
Yeah. And you can get good at it. And I think it's important if you have like, you know, like for this podcast, it's great for this podcast, like to get people to listen to it.
Yeah.
It's great for getting people out of shows and checking things out. But like really though, when you get down to it, it's just like so much information and it's really easy to forget, you know, like people or songs. Like someone puts out an album and 4 months later or even a month later, like
it's forgotten,
done. And so, you know, as far as like I'm taking this back like to the record that I want to make, you know, it's in kind of realizing that things can kind of die out and go away, you know, it's more for myself as well, you know, and if I'm telling a story and someone's into it and they get it, that's great. But I think it's good to create for yourself as well. Like
as other people.
Yeah. Like if I did this and no one heard it, you know,
what's the point of doing it?
Well, like, that's also it goes both ways. Like what's the point of doing art? But at the same time, there's something to be said about just like doing something just to do it, like because you enjoy it and just because you like it. And I think it's so easy to try to pimp out, you know, products to people as well. Like, and that's another thing I'm kind of uncomfortable about as well, as far as like playing music and trying to sell like people on stuff. Like I want people to enjoy my music and to buy it and all that stuff so I can keep doing what I do. But at the same time, it's like, it's hard being a salesman as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, how can I appreciate you coming on the show,
no
Matthew? How can do you have any new outlets for people to find you, or how can people find you online? Just run down the list really quick.
Yeah, my music's on Bandcamp. I'm always recording like fun covers and for fun and sharing them. So I'm on it's Matthew Quen Nanes Bandcamp.com. .bandcamp.com, sorry. And I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and every now and again I'll write a blog or share like an old essay I did on my blog spot.
What's the website for that? I've never lurked you on that.
I know. It's something I kind of keep. I'll throw links out every now and again. But if I remember correctly, it's MatthewQuenNanes.blogspot.com. For any comic dorks out there, I just shared an essay about the Dark Phoenix saga for the X-Men. So just kind of nerded out on that. And, yeah, that's basically it.
And come and check you out the 16th.
Yes,
Kilby
January
Court.
16th, Kilby Court.
And if you don't know where Kilby Court is, you need to crawl out from underneath the rock you've been living in, right? What is the address for Kilby Court? Do you know what it is? I just know how to get
there. I just know how to get there. That's all.
No,
I know it's 330 west and off of 700 south.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And great place. Love the venue. Great all ages venue. Again, go back and listen to the first time Matthew was on the podcast. You can just find that iamsaltlake.com/40. That'll take you to that interview, or find it in iTunes. And anything else you want to add? We'll end the podcast. What song are we going to end the podcast out with today?
We're going to end with the final song in the EP of the Nostalgia EP. It's called "Why We Should Move On."
Awesome. Why We Should Move On. Go to Bandcamp, download it, purchase it. You can buy individual songs too, right?
You can buy individual songs as well if you'd like.
But just buy the whole album.
Buy the whole. It's a small EP, 3 songs EP.
Matt's a great guy. Matt's a great guy. Anyways, thank you so much, Matthew.
Oh, no problem.
The sun is going down and I awake only to pass the haunts in our lives. Schoolhouses and sandboxes bring everything to a halt. Stop, this is all too much me to take it. Can't go back to memories and photography. These winter nights, so cold, go straight to the bone. Your warmth is all I ask for, and all your love songs left me on. Left me on. Stop, this is all too much me taking. Can't go back to memories and photography. This is what it did to